You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
I'll call to order the November 20th meeting of the Planning Board here at Whitcomb Hall. Begin with the roll call. Scott Self, I'm here. Michael York.
Yeah.
Richard Lane.
Here.
Brandon Self.
Here.
Victoria Ames.
Here.
Mark Scalera.
Here.
And Jane Johnson as alternate. Stacey
Here.
Goodell as alternate.
Here.
And Selectman's Rep Mark LaBelle.
Here.
Right there. So we have a full board. We don't need any alternates. And we will move on to the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of November 6th, 2025. And under public hearings, we don't have any. And under discussions and other business, we have Chad Brennan, rezoning proposal. We have Wetlands Conservation District setting the public hearing date. A warrant article discussion, set public hearing date for amendments number 2 through 8. Petition zoning amendment, set public hearing for Base Hill Road rezone, and planning priorities, strategic discussions on ordinance revisions. Back to the top. We have nothing on here that needs regional impact vote, so we don't need that vote tonight. So moving on, the approval of the minutes of November 6, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Victoria. Is there any discussion, changes, alterations? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And we've passed that. Brings us to our first discussion of other business, which is Chad Brennan, and this is a rezone proposal for over on Route 32.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Chad Brannon. I'm a civil engineer and principal owner with Fieldstone Land Consultants. And I'm here this evening to talk about a proposed zoning, a rezoning on a portion of property along New Hampshire Route 32. Our client, or my client, is 234 Old Homestead Highway Realty, LLC. They own tax map parcels. Just looking at the exhibit that is in the staff memo, I think it's page 5. They own tax map parcels 21012, 21941, 21942, and 21946. And though their properties consist of about 113 acres of land. And as you can see, taking a look at this particular exhibit that's in front of you, there's, those properties, if you look at the north side of the page, they start in the industrial park district, and then there's, I believe, the business district, is 2 of them are in, and then it's rural ag, which is kind of situated between residential district on each side. These properties are generally backlot properties, so they're not positioned right up on the highway. So what this plan proposes, and we essentially, what we did is we met with town staff and we took a look at the area, and in looking at adjacent zoning, it made sense to maybe extend the rezoning request all the way to Seymour Hill Road, and that would provide consistent zoning from the highway, Route 32, all the way up to the existing development, Marcy Hill Road, and the Arrowcrest development to the east. And so what we're requesting and looking for support from the board on is this rezoning request that would essentially change these properties that are outlined here with that kind of the black dashed line to residence district. We think it would be, a benefit not only to, my client, obviously I'm here for a reason, but in evaluating this with, staff, we think this would be, a benefit to the community. It would allow, the potential for some infrastructure extensions. There is municipal sewer and water along 32, and that ultimately could be brought into the property and, and work its way towards the development to the east and potentially over to, Route 12 on the other side over time. It also provides for an opportunity for some diversity of housing along this corridor where you do have municipal services, and that's, certainly there is a housing need across The state, Swanzey, has done a great job, I think, over, you know, the years in satisfying some of that need, but you know, there is, you know, still a need. And what you're looking at here is rural ag has a 3-acre, you know, 225-foot, you know, density. In residence district, there's a 1-acre, 150-foot frontage density. And so we think that rezoning this area would provide, you know, additional incentive for, you know, somebody to take on a project that would allow for the extension of some of those municipal services while providing good, strong planning and development for the community. And we've been trying to work collaboratively with town staff on, you know, what makes sense in this area, and you know, this is the plan that ultimately, you know, we came up with, or Adam came up with in working with us. And so I appreciate your patience. I've had to kind of bow out of I think the last 2 meetings, was battling some illness, and you know, so it took me a little bit to get here, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the, you know, board may have relative to this request, but it, you know, it is fairly straightforward, I think. I will say that my client is the same entity that owned all of Safford Drive, and so a lot of that property is being successfully developed appropriately, you know, under the zoning. But what they found is this area being removed from the highway and really positioned behind existing residential homes, especially the business and industrial lots that we're talking about. It's really not conducive to, you know, conforming development, and so that's why we have to look at rezoning those areas.
Go ahead, Mark.
So, just a couple of questions. What is the total acreage of all the lots that you're being proposed? Do you know that?
I don't know the total acreage, do you?
I can get that in just a minute.
I know my client's
It's
portion.
113 plus 80 plus 73.
There you go.
So Burke owns 113 or 42% of the acres, and Farwell owns 80 of the acres, which is 30%, and then other people own the remaining 27%. And my question is, has Farwell been addressed? Have you talked with Farwell?
We haven't had any conversations. I mean, so to be honest, our effort has been, you know, with our client's property, and then we had just a good dialogue with town on what makes sense as far as the zoning in the area. I don't know which lots Farwell owns, but certainly, you know, zoning going from residential ag to residence has to be a benefit on a, you know, a landowner from a evaluation standpoint.
He owns the bottom tier, basically,
Yeah.
that section in there.
And the other question, it looks like there'd be there's two roads here. One's being proposed, I guess, the Marcy Hill and Route 12 connection. And the other road down on the southern end of it, do we know, is that a class 5 road, or is that a real road?
I'm not sure if it's a class 5 or not.
Seymour Hill Road is a class 6, I believe.
Yeah.
And we're not proposing roads with this rezoning proposal,
kind
but
of thinking for the future, right?
yeah,
You know,
I think it's a logical.
Because what I'm seeing here, I personally think it's a good idea, okay? Multiple accesses into whatever gets here, you know, could be a reasonable development or used as a reasonable development. You know, there's certainly a housing need for certain types of housing. I'd love to see, you know, bigger houses and attract more doctors in this area, because I know what it's like to get an appointment here and waiting 6 months. So, you know, whatever we can do to help that out. But anyway, that was my comment and questions there.
Chad, do you have any idea how many lots would actually be able to, no idea yet?
Yeah, we haven't
Looked
looked
into
at
that.
any conceptuals or anything like that. It's really try to get the zoning correct, and then, you know, that's the next step is, you know, take a look at, you know, potential conceptual plans. We'd be working with, you know, town staff and certainly this board on any development plans, you know, if we're successful in you know, getting it rezoned. I will say that we have walked the property, and the property is phenomenal. I mean, it's nice upland areas. Almost all of it is dry upland. It's just, it does have a little bit of elevation as you work away from the highway, but it's not steep, and so it's very, very workable. It's not, it's not an area that is sensitive or, would need to be, in our minds, preserved. I just want to share that because we looked at that before we, kind of engaged in this effort to look at, rezoning.
You don't think you're going to run into a wetlands issue at all?
Well, you're going to have, on my client's property, there's not a lot of wetlands. I mean, you do have some fingers that, kind of traverse down the slope, but it's not, it's primarily high and dry, and a portion of it was an old sand and gravel operation, so the soils are really good throughout the site. And so what happens in those situations is, the wetland areas tend to be the drainage channels that are just really conveying the water off the hill. And so they're well-defined, it's not, marshland or anything like that.
So if it's 266 acres and it's the residence district, that would be 1 acre, right, per unit?
Yeah, 1 acre.
So theoretically, I mean, in a perfect world.
150-foot
Perfect
frontage,
world,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, you got the frontage and the right-of-way, and then just, the geometry and the roads, drainage, and so a lot comes into play that I would hate to speculate, like, a real quick calculation on lots like that, but.
You shouldn't anyways, that's not part of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. Just talking about basically if it's a good idea or not to do it.
Well, I think part of whether it's a good idea or not is whether we have the capacity as a town to support that kind of development with
That comes in
everything else that we have.
to play on site plan, though.
Well, I'm talking about bigger issues, like can we provide municipal services for that many new houses?
Again, it comes in on site plan. I mean, even if it's rezoned, site plan comes in and you can't to sustain those types of operations, then it doesn't go through.
Only if it's a subdivision, right?
It'd have to be, yeah.
Yeah. So if these are sold as well, I guess it would have to be a subdivision.
Yeah, they'd have to break it all up in there, have to put roads in there and all that type
I
of
just
stuff.
feel like we need to keep the bigger picture in mind, when we think about big changes like this. This, already we're talking about connecting Marcy Hill Road with 32, which will direct a lot of traffic from the Marcy Hill development onto 32, which will be a big change.
And I should clarify really quick, I just put that connection in just to get that idea in your brain.
Yeah, actually, a road there would be great.
Yeah,
because-
It would
as
be
far as
great.
the
Takes
rezone.
you 20 minutes to get from this side all
Well,
the way to
plus,
Marcy.
those people are
Yeah,
Marcy.
you're good. So this is just strictly the, I just so.
Again, the road's not part of it.
No, the road's not part of
It's
this.
just strictly a rezone,
It's
that's all.
just to get that into your brain
Yeah,
that
it's just in there for,
And it's worth pointing out too, that all the property along 32 right now is zoned residence, and that hasn't been developed, so it just creates continuity between two zoning districts. When you look at this map, you have the lots along 32 that are residents, you have the Marcy Hill, kind of loop that's residents, and then you have a gap in between the two, and in our minds, it makes sense to connect through because you have those municipal services there. That's the area that we think from a land planning standpoint should be a little bit more dense, and so should be residence zoned. It doesn't mean that it'll get developed overnight. As Mr. Chairman said, we would have to, as an applicant or a developer, we'd have to come here and address all the criteria and make sure that it's a fiscally responsible development, or, we'd be dealing with potential impacts, and oftentimes developers have to incur those, those costs if the services can't take on the development. And so that's a balancing act that would take place down the road.
Yeah, I'm just challenging the board to
Impact
think
fees.
big. I think that's important for us.
Excuse me, you said you have not talked to the owners of, say, 21951 and et cetera. You're only conversing with the owner of 21946 and down, correct, or north?
No.
Did I misunderstand what you were saying?
The only landowner that we've spoken to personally is our client,
Right.
But what we've done is had a larger planning conversation with the town. And, you know, properties are rezoned all the time without talking to landowners. It's a land planning element. And so ultimately, it's a master plan and it's a planning board, you know, determination on what's right for this area based on the services that are there. And I'm not trying to offend anybody or step over a boundary. I'm just telling you what we've done.
I just feel uncomfortable
Well,
suggesting or recommending.
That's public hearing stuff, though, really. I mean, that's public hearing stuff when it goes for inclusion on the warrant or not. That's when we hear from the public on it. This night, we wouldn't be hearing from the public on it. We probably would if they were here, but we wouldn't be hearing from it.
So when the board says
like
they get
that.
notified.
Oh, I know, I understand it's gonna get notified, but are we
We're just
making
looking,
a recommendation to
we're looking
have
for
this
the
done?
conceptual part of it. Is it a good concept or not? And does it have the planning board support to go forward to a public hearing to be put on a warrant article? That's what we're deciding here tonight. You know, in concept. No road there, nothing else other than the fact that from this point on, it would be residential, that giant chunk of land, right? This line right there, that follows the property line, is that why that's like that?
That's correct.
Okay, that's a property line, so it would be this chunk right from there, all the ways down, would be this coloring. In other words, it would be residential the entire way. That's what we're looking for, the impact, I mean, the conceptual part of it there. And the only real difference it makes is that the property owners there can subdivide into 1 acre lots instead of 3 acre lots. That's the difference. In this area here, the center area here, they can already do that over here. They can already do that in the yellowish part, but they can't do it in there. So that's the difference of rezoning that.
I'm
Other
not
than that-
debating what that part
Yep.
is. As I say, I'm just uncomfortable if we're going to recommend something without, you know, the whole thing being presented to the landowners that are going to be involved in this.
Well,
Okay.
won't they have that possibility to do that when they have the hearing? They'll be able to
Yeah,
come here
that's
and
what the hearing's
discuss
for,
that.
yeah.
I understand what the hearing is, but what I'm saying, if we as a board are going to recommend we go forward with it without input from the landowners, I don't think that's, you know, to me, that's uncomfortable.
Well, the hearing is for the final vote as to what goes on the warrant. So if you're uncomfortable, a bunch of people come and show up and say, we don't want this rezone and all that type of stuff, and you're uncomfortable with it, then you make a motion that this not go on the warrant. Because what we're voting on tonight doesn't make it go on the warrant. It only at the public hearing makes it go on the warrant, right?
I understand
too,
that,
okay.
the mechanics.
Yeah.
But as again, my objection is the fact that we don't have any input,
Well, how
or
are you
they
gonna
have
get,
not contacted the other landowners to even mention that this is what we would like to do.
how are you gonna get input without a public hearing? I mean, that's what we do here. We get input through a public hearing on site plan all the time.
But with all due respect, I'm not asking to, to be honest, I'm not really asking to rezone the other entity's property. The town and staff think that's a good planning decision. The properties that I would like to see rezoned, if we came out of here with nothing, would be the
210, 12.
No, I-
21012, 21041, 21012, 21941, 21942, and 21946. That was the initial discussion we had with the town.
I agree with
But
that.
when you look at the broader picture, if we're gonna rezone an area, and I tend to agree, with, you know, from a land planning standpoint, then you look at continuity and, you know, what's a good dividing line, and Seymour Hill Road seemed logical because you have two of the same zones on either side. And so that's the reason for the map representing properties outside of my client's ownership.
No, I'm not saying that it is not a good idea.
Okay, we got it. That line right there, you said runs on a property line, correct?
Yes, correct.
Why aren't these properties down here included, right there? You've got those to remain business, and then you're drawing a line over here and back of them to make that
I
residential.
think that was my addition. I was unsure if we wanted to include those in the rezone or not.
Why did you not, I mean, why were you unsure?
They're fronting,
Yeah, they're fronting,
they're directly fronting into already.
they're residents now, aren't they, or are
They
they?
all are residents.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
all are residents now.
Yeah, they are.
So, I mean, if this board wants to include those, now's the chance to.
Well, it kind of makes sense instead of cutting them out piecemeal like that and going back around like so. If we're going to make a whole chunk, or we're proposing to make a whole chunk of that residential, this whole area there,
Yeah, and it would
They should be
remove
included.
the possibility for those residences to be turned into a business at a future date. But if you guys want to go that route.
I don't know, to me, it makes sense to include them instead of cutting them out like that. Unless you think of, that's not really prime business land right there anyways. Across the street is business only because the airport is there.
Yeah, I can't see an immediate future where those homes are turned into businesses, so.
You know, those are my only questions about it. How about the rest of the board? Is this a good idea or is not a good idea?
Good idea.
Mark?
I think it's a reasonable idea. I think it should be explored further.
Stacy?
I like it. I think we should include those houses though.
The business part?
Yeah, I agree.
Same over there. Richard?
I have no idea with no objection to the concept. You know what my
Yeah,
my
I do.
opinion is.
I do, and we will address that if we get to a public hearing, definitely.
I agree.
You agree? I agree. Jane?
I'm not really sure.
Okay. Why not?
Why not? Well, I just have a thing in my crop right now about becoming overzealous for more housing, more housing, more housing.
So, I understand that one. I feel that way in certain types of housing, but this would attract
This is
different types
true.
of housing, you know.
Single-family
As
homes.
far as building the tax base, these build a better tax base than the big multifamily ones that come in. Not to say that a multifamily is going in there, but that would be my response to your concern.
Well, that's why I really am not decided.
Okay. Victoria?
I spent some time this evening looking at the town plan and looking at what the recommendations are for our obligation to provide housing. And we have exceeded what the town plan recommends. So I feel like encouraging additional housing, additionally, housing at a greater density in this area is premature. So I'm not in favor of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet.
I'm in favor.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Well,
sorry.
go ahead. Yeah.
I would just challenge the board to think about what this land is doing now. It's sitting vacant and it's unable to be developed as it is. And so is the land better sitting vacant or is it better?
My response to that is that currently, while we are unable to fully staff our police department and our fire needs, having fewer houses that we need to be responsible caretakers of is smart. I think if we get too far ahead with housing and can't accommodate that housing with the services that the town is required to provide, I think that's not responsible.
I think the housing that could go in this area, I mean, you're looking at years and years and years away.
So it's
And
premature.
so, well, the whole point of planning is to plan in advance, and the plan, I mean, 10 years in advance. And so this is the starting point of say, a 10-year plan to develop this area. I mean, I think we can kick this can down the road as long as we want, but we need to, at some point, take action and identify valuable land in the town that can be developed and take action now. I mean, we have a good opportunity with a good developer, good landowners who are willing to take the action. I think it's good to look at that and take action when we can, when we have the people who are willing to do the work. That's my 2 cents.
Yep. Well, again, the town plan goes, it projects out to 2040. So according to the numbers that the town plan gives us, we have already exceeded our housing obligation 10 years in advance of
I say let's keep
that
going.
date. So, And at the same time, we're struggling to provide fire and police service, for example, and, water service in West Swansea. I mean, we've got a lot of infrastructure kinds of things that I really feel like,
This area of Swansea is good, though, water, sewer. We should have capacity for this development.
right.
So just as for the town, the town is feeling good about this, and for whatever you want to think about that, that's the town's piece. We're feeling good about this.
Well, there's a long ways to go before any subdivision is going in there. This is actually the first step, then a subdivision, of course, is a second step, and that, again, comes before the planning board, and is decided on, whether it's premature or not for the area, how many houses going in, depends what a subdivision would be in there, 3 houses or 300 houses,
Yeah,
Big
I'm
difference.
actually more comfortable with the Burke property than the balance of it. I know you're only here representing the Burke ownership, but, so, anyway.
Well, let's see, so it looks like the consensus of the board is to move forward with it. Am I right about that? Let's have a motion in that regard if I am right about it. If not, a motion to not go. Which will it be?
I'll make a motion, we go forward with it.
Motion by Michael York to go forward with, so let's see, go forward with a public hearing for a warrant article to rezone this whole area.
Correct.
Okay. Is
I'll
there-
second.
Seconded by Brandon. Is there any further discussion?
I will vote in favor of that because I want to further the conversation.
Okay.
Can we include those 5 properties?
I think it should.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes, everyone, yep.
Yeah.
Both of you guys? Okay, including those 5 properties that were going to remain business. Any other discussion? And all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so it looks like we're moving forward, and we'll have a public hearing on that. And hopefully the landowners will be here, and we'll be able to hear from them.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Does the board want to set a date for the public hearing, since we're going to be setting dates for the other items?
Yeah, let's do that, because we're running low on time here, and let's set that, because we're moving on to setting dates anyway, right after this. So let's start setting dates, and we'll keep that one in mind.
This could be a,
Chad, do you have a
this could be
preference?
a lengthy meeting. This one could be a lengthy meeting.
A long meeting, yeah, it could be, yep.
So bring your pillows.
We've got,
There's the 4th and the 18th of December.
you said that's available, just the 4th and 18th?
The 4th, yeah, the 4th and the 18th are our 2 meetings in December.
I'm hoping to be, selfishly, I'm hoping to be on the 18th meeting with an application, so I would be here.
You're saying you'd be here anyway on the 18th?
Right.
Anybody have a problem with discussing this on the 18th?
Your application is going to be only for your client?
Oh, it's a different one, right?
I think
Oh, this is, I'm here for a
That's- yeah,
different hearing potentially on the 18th?
That'd be different.
He'll already be here, is what he's saying.
So
Yeah.
what he's doing is done. He won't be here representing, well, he may be speaking to it, but right now, the planning board is moving forward with recommending that this area be zoned residential, so it'll be our zoning amendment at that point. So, again, the 18th might be a good time for that? That a good time, you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great time, yeah.
All right.
18th,
Let's
okay.
say the 18th for this one,
Chad, is your proposal going to be a long one too?
and that will be a public hearing on the warrant article. And just, let me look in here. So, let's just have another motion on amendment number 9, because that'll officialize it to go on to, prior to the public hearing. So we have something actually, we're in favor of moving it forward, but amendment 9 reads, are you in favor of the adoption of the amendment number 9 as proposed by the planning board to amend the Swanzey zoning map as follows? And it's just saying rezone the following parcels to residential district.
That language will be solidified before notices are sent out. So just because it's placeholder now, doesn't mean that that's going to be placeholder during the public hearing. When you guys see this at public hearing, it will be the final version.
Yeah, but the planning board needs to vote for an amendment 9 to
Yep.
discuss at the public hearing. We just voted to move forward with this, but we didn't vote for an amendment 9. So the planning board,
Yeah.
as a formality, we need a motion to put amendment number 9 for a public hearing on the 18th.
I'll make that motion.
Motion.
As amended, including the 5 additional lots.
Yes, but, yep, motion by Brandon to put amendment number 9 for a public hearing on December 18th, seconded by whom, Mark?
Sure.
Okay, seconded by Mark, and he had the addition of the other lots that were in the business zone there. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we're official for the 18th. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Wetlands Conservation District, we need to set a public hearing for that one as well. That one may or may not be a long one. So, those are still the only 2 dates we have to choose from, Adam?
Yeah, unless you guys want to set another hearing
A
for
special.
December. So you guys think we need to?
Okay, so we've got the 18th, we've got the, that zoning proposal for the 18th.
And the Concom is good for the 4th if you guys want to do that.
Okay, they've always said the 4th, December 4th. I'm fine with that. Any board members for the Wetlands Conservation District on the 4th, December 4th? Sound okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so, again, let me get to the proper place in my packet here. And it would be, let's see, it would be Article 1. So, before we move that to public hearing, do we have any discussion? I do have some discussion on this, but do we have any discussion on Article 1? And that one is, I'll just read the article. Are you in favor of the adoption of Amendment Number 1 as proposed by the Planning Board to replace Section 7 of the Town of Swanzey zoning ordinance with a new Section 7 in order to amend the definition of the Wetlands Conservation District, establish revised provisions for permitted uses, and adopt a procedure for conditional uses? That's the amendment, and do we have a motion for that amendment?
So moved.
Motion by Victoria, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Richard. Now, under discussion, further discussion, I just had one thing on here that popped out. I mean, I hadn't seen it before. It's nothing big, so we don't need to really throw me off the roof for putting a wrench in the monkey works here. I mean, monkey wrench in the works, but it has to do with, I'm on page number 4 and 5. So it starts on page number 4, and we're talking about the conditional uses and what they will be, you know, what will the conditional use permit will be given for things like structures, new structures, and it describes the whole thing, right? Goes right down, and it ends with number 7, expansion or change of an existing non-conforming use, you know, on like that. So I have proposed a number 8 because, and the number 8 would read, as a permitted use for a conditional use permit would be removal of trees, stumps, and root systems. And the reason I did that is because under the conditional use criteria, it's under G here. On number 7, it says that while unsafe or diseased trees may be removed, stumps and root systems must be left intact in the ground. So if it doesn't allow us a conditional use permit to remove stumps and trees, then if any of these permitted uses are put in, like a road or something like that, it says you can't remove a stump where that road's going, or a tree or whatever. So they could get a conditional use permit to remove that stump and that tree, but without that in there, the permit criteria doesn't allow them to do it. So that's why it's there.
And
Okay.
what was the language exactly?
So the language exactly, it would be a number 8 underneath conditional uses, the F. Okay, a new number 8 that reads removal of trees, stumps, and root systems. And that's it.
Okay.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve that.
didn't we have a motion?
We had a motion.
We had a motion by Victoria, and you seconded it. So you
Correct.
guys have to agree to that amendment
Yes.
on there. You do?
As
You do.
amended, right?
Okay,
Yes.
and you do. Okay, so that makes it official. So any other wording or talk about this amendment number 2? I mean, that's for the whole wetlands district. If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, and this will be going on the public hearing dated the 4th. correct?
Yep, that's what I got.
Okay. December 4th. So, let's see, now we have the warrant article discussions, and this is public hearings for the amendments number 2 through 8. And we've all read through these, they're in our packet. Let me just get to the spot. Make sure that someone didn't mark it up on me here. Any changes here, which I don't see. So, we need a motion to go to a public hearing for amendments number 2 through 8.
So moved.
Motion by Michael to go bring number 2 through 8, amendments number 2 through 8 to a public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Victoria. So, any further discussion?
Set it for December 4th?
December, I think that's a good idea, because I don't think that'll take too long, the 2 through 8.
No.
The other one might. So December 4th sounds good. 4th. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, amendments 2 through 8 will be discussed on December 4th, along with the Wetlands Conservation District. So now we're to petition zoning amendment. We need to set a public hearing for the Base Hill Road rezone. So you're here for that, correct? Yep. Has that changed much from the last year? No. Okay. All right, it's the same. And again, it's a petition warrant article, and you've submitted already, or are you going to submit it?
Correct, it's already been submitted.
Been submitted, okay. It's already been submitted, so, yeah, we can, in our packet, it explains pretty much the same as it was last year. What it's doing is, well, we have a big map here, and this is that zone there that we have. So the colored ones you see there, that one there and that one there are the ones that are going to remain as they are now. Everything else will be changed for zoning. So this yellow color is going to remain commercial industrial, and this reddish color one will remain business. The rest is going to be changed to either residential or rural ag. We got that in our, everybody get that?
Let's do that on the same day as the other rezoning, the 18th. Put those two together.
Yeah. All right, sounds like a good idea.
So not in the system.
So, pretty much we need, and let me see which one it is. We need a motion. What amendment is this one?
It's not an amendment.
It's not there, okay, so.
Petition zoning amendment.
Okay, so we need to just label this as a petition zoning amendment, right?
Yep.
Base Hill petition zoning amendment.
Would that become
Call it
Amendment
that.
10?
It's not gonna be on this list. It's a separate item.
Yeah, but we still want to see it at the public hearing on the 18th, I think, is what we're
Yep.
talking about.
It'll be Article 3 probably.
So we'll just move the petition amendment, or Base Hill Road petition amendment, to public hearing on the 18th. We need a motion for that.
So moved.
Motion by Victoria to put the petitioned Base Hill Road rezoning amendment on our December 18th planning board meeting.
I'll second.
Seconded by Brandon. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And let's see, what else do we have here? I guess we'll need you at the public hearing.
Will do.
Okay.
I'll give you all the reasons why it should be changed.
All righty, thank you.
We're gonna list it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a question concerning our public hearing.
You keep it going.
If we have, if for some reason we have to have a second meeting from the 4th or the 18th, when are we doing it?
Well, let's see, do we have time? I don't know. We must have time for the 18th.
I didn't have that.
But if we need a second one from the 4th, we'll put it on the 18th. We might be here a while, but we'll put it on the
What's
18th.
our last date?
The 18th.
The 18th?
Oh, sorry, so,
No, if we need a second one from the 18th, what's our,
Well, either one if we need a second time.
yeah, but the 4th we can put on the 18th.
Right.
That becomes kind of, if you have Chad here doing his also.
We've had big meetings before. I mean, you know, we can do it.
so going through the dates, really quick. Let's see here, January, I mean, we can run through most of January. for a secondary public hearing.
Okay, so we've got enough for that then.
The last day to hold the first public hearing is on the 12th of January.
Okay,
So if we have to go to the first meeting in January, we're fine.
we got time, yeah, we got plenty of time,
It says the
great.
26th is the last day.
To hold the final,
We
yeah.
have to hold selectmen so they can put it on the warrant.
Right.
Okay, so we've got enough time to go for a second public hearing
we can
on
do
any
the
of those
first
items if we need to.
Yeah, we can.
And again, we'd be going to a second public hearing only if something was substantially changed in the warrant article.
Yeah, our normal one would be the 8th of.
You can't change petitions once, right?
So that brings us down to planning priorities. Any discussion on, this is just general discussion on our town zoning, seeing as how we're in zoning. Anybody have anything for that?
Right.
Or shall we quit early?
Well, it's quite early, but I just want to back up Vicki a little bit, Victoria a little bit on the planning part. I know we're just going there, but I am also concerned about too much density in town right now, because the police chief cannot find people right now to serve as police officers. He's down. The fire station, the fire people are still struggling. And there's still a controversy, well, not a controversy, but what are we doing about EMS? Right now, we're with the county, but it's going to get extremely expensive next year, and it won't get any cheaper.
Nope, but we had a committee studying
I have a
that.
concern. I'm not saying I don't want to do it. I'm saying I have a concern.
Yep. And definitely, I know those concerns will come up if there happens to be a subdivision, if there happens to be a site plan, all those things can come up, and I'm sure that you're gonna bring impact fees up long
Of
before
course,
that.
look at that project.
So, we'll see how that's gonna
Michael,
go.
better bring
The other
those
thing I
up.
want to mention is LSRs, which is legislative service requests, which Jane knows all about. There is 1,080 right now, and I'm trying to decipher which one's going to impact us.
You
But
mean,
they haven't wrote the bills yet, so it's very tough to really get into them.
but this is just pertaining to just land use across the
Land
board,
use.
not necessarily Swansea, but land use across the board.
Lands cruise across the state, where the state's,
Yeah.
diving in again, and
Yeah.
1,080 is not all the land use ones, it's all of the bills, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to decipher through there and pick out the ones that are gonna affect us, that we may have to deal with.
All right, that should keep you busy for a while, eh?
And remember, each LSR, I think, costs like $2,500 to,
Really?
So that's
Holy
our tax
smokes.
money, yeah.
That's some big money. Luckily, we only pay those people $100 a year, so we can afford to do that.
That might change. I have a house cleaning item
Good,
here.
let's hear it.
Rules of procedure. Last time it was updated and signed was in '23. And it's something that should be done each year, especially if we have new people on the board.
Sounds like a good plan. Shall we do that at, let's see.
Not on the
Unless-
18th.
unless you-
the first time we don't have anything?
Well, did you have anything specific that we
No,
were
it's
thinking
just-
about?
it needs to be
Okay, let's-
updated and signed
let's
by
all-
all the members of the board. It should be done each year.
Yeah. So let's all look over, do we all have a copy of the rules of procedure? If everyone doesn't have a copy, Adam can give us a copy and just read them over in the next 4 weeks or so,
Make suggestions.
and then we'll run them over. We may not have to change anything at all, or may throw them out entirely, right?
No, we won't throw it out entirely.
Okay. Anything else? Adam, you have anything?
Nope.
Charlie, you have anything? Okay. Then,
So I have, I guess, a point and a question. So, last meeting when Pattern Energy was here, and I asked about potential screening along Route 12, the applicant said, well, I'm willing to do pretty much whatever the board requires, and that's fine, right? It just, never mind the additional response, I'm not concerned about that, but it just brings up the question in my mind, at what point does the board require screening? The fact that there isn't a screening, Dunkin' Donuts, which is a retail business, at the gas station, Waste Management, that's been there for, that building's been there forever. At what point does the board require better screening to enhance our community? Is it a physical demarcation? Is it a point in time where we decide that we want to do, quote, in my opinion, better for the community, I think it's a question that the board should consider and talk about.
And it's case by case, as it always is anyways, it's case by case. And the board is supposed to anyways take in consideration the rest of the area. And if the town is making these other businesses have fencing, or screening or fencing, then that's taken into consideration for that individual site plan.
But I
Usually
think
comes down.
one of the issues that came up with that situation was that the property owner was saying, well, this is sort of, not his words, but the idea that it was sort of a blighted area already because there hadn't been any kind of screening. And so it wouldn't be fair for us to start imposing
So let's
screening
just use
at that point.
hypotheticals. So
Okay,
say a
but-
property owner.
So let's say an area that we haven't, maybe there are long-standing businesses that are mostly asphalt, and aren't very attractive to look at, and especially if it's on a main entryway to Swanzey, one of our 10 or 12. At what point, just to follow up on what Mark is saying, at what point do we start saying, let's make this better?
Well, you state your case right at that site plan, whichever hypothetical one comes through. Board member like Mark did, or like you could state your case right then and there, and if the planning board as a whole votes on it and thinks it's a good idea, then it gets done. If the board doesn't think it's a good idea, then it doesn't get done, because we do it on a case-by-case basis. That's pretty much how it has been, and pretty much what, that's how it would come up. A board member would have to bring it up.
And an example might be one side of the road might not look like it warrants it, but another side of that same road.
And that's
might.
what you would argue for whatever
Yeah.
specific site plan it was. That's
Yeah.
your argument. And if it's a good one, and the board agrees with you, then you get your screening. If not, then you don't.
Yeah, if it's commercial to residential, it already has to be screened.
Well, those
that-
things, yeah,
but
those
that
things are
commercial
already laid out in our
commercial
zoning. But Mark's talking about something
Yeah.
different.
He had a residential property to the north of him, but.
Yeah, but again, we're talking hypotheticals now. We aren't talking the specific properties.
Yeah,
Is there zoning that we could refer to if something does kind of go downhill, that we can get the building inspector or whoever to go and say, okay, you've got to clean this up, and then suggest things that might be.
I think that's probably 7 hours out of his 8-hour day. these days.
That's not the point.
But
The point is, is there a way to have that rectified? I don't care if the person is gonna do it, 4 hours or take 4 hours out of his, he's being paid to do that.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's really busy right now, and they are attacking those issues. It doesn't look like things are getting done, but it takes a long time.
We're
to
talking
take
about
on these
a couple
things.
different things here, though. From a planning board standpoint, if they're in violation of an approved site plan, then those are the teeth. That's how you do it. But if it's not a site plan, I think you're talking about residential properties and things like that, that are out of the planning board purview, then it's a matter of the selectman and the
Right.
code enforcement officer. So there are two different things we're talking about there.
But even if it's a planning board issue, then we don't have the authority to enforce it. We would have to have.
Well, if they're in
the
violation of the
selectmen-
site plan, we
Right, but
do.
we still would have to have the selectmen step in and say, you
Well,
gotta do
they're
this.
enforcement. Planning board is not enforcement at
That's
all
what I'm saying.
by RSA, but the selectmen are, and they can put it to the code enforcement
Right.
officer, which they have. That's their delegate.
But the planning board would have to bring it to their attention.
Code enforcement anybody could bring it to their attention.
Right,
If they're in
right.
violation of the site plan.
I
And
have
Right.
done that a few times.
again, it probably would not come across the board or come in front of the board for a discussion if they were in violation of the site plan. It'd go directly to the selectmen.
True.
Because they're enforcement.
Something else that we need to do, and I think of this because for years, we didn't do anything about the master plan. And in 2022, we did a new master plan. Now, 4 years has gone by already. Are we going to let another 20 years go by before we look at 10? We need 6 more years?
We don't need 6
Well-
more years, but it takes 2
It
to 3
has to be
years
done
do
within 10 years.
Yeah,
but-
we
Are
can-
you saying that it has to be done in 10 years?
Typically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But you can do it, you can do it earlier, can't you?
Yeah.
so it's been
Between.
4.
But it's a lot of work.
But it is a lot of work, but it gets done, and then how many people look at it?
I don't think master plans are ever updated more than decade. I think 10-year, they're supposed to be 10-year plans.
Well, it
The
went
one we have
longer
now
than
is-
that before,
And
didn't
really
it,
good.
Scott?
It did, but different sections of the master plan can be updated at different times. You know, if the planning board wanted to take one
Yes.
section of the master plan and do it, it doesn't have to all be done at the same time,
Right.
if
Yeah.
the board didn't want to do it that way.
But it is a document that kind of gets put on the shelf.
It is,
And we
because,
plug along, and we don't really look at what we have worked on in the master
But-
plan, and times change, and it should be a more vital document than it is. That's just my opinion. I think it should be.
but only as it pertains to zoning. Generally, the master plan is used when the planning board is looking at zoning for the town. And that's, you
Like
consult the
right
master
now.
plan. Yeah, like now, yeah, you know, look at the master plan, see if that coincides
Maybe
with the
that's
master
what made
plan,
me
that
think
one
of
over
it.
there does or not, but that's usually what it's used. It's an advisory document. It isn't, you know, an ordinance. So the planning board uses it as a tool to decide on zoning changes in the town.
I think the huge advantage to the master plan is the numbers, from my perspective. You know, it's a place where we have some data collected in one place. So it might make sense to revisit, say, the housing section.
Yeah, just
and
certain
look-
sections of it
you
can
know,
be, yeah,
and
separately.
look at that, look at population and housing trends and, you know, projections. That could be real smart to do.
Maybe that's what we
Sooner
should do.
rather than
Just
later.
take that section and update it more frequently than the rest of it.
Because I feel like I just feel like we're in the dark, you know, trying to, we know there's a need, but we don't know. I'm reluctant to think that, you know, it's up to Swansea to fill that entire need.
When was the last census, 2020?
Well, it's
Because-
a
I don't know.
year.
Because we go off of census data to update those sections typically. A lot of that section has to do with population, and we can pull 2020 census data, but I just, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
Well, keep it in mind, you know, for, you know, a time when we have a lull, we could look at that housing, whether we update it or not.
Well, it'd be like,
Decide.
that's like a year plus of work, so just keep that in mind.
Well, the funny fact is, in Cheshire County, Swansea is the only one that's gained population in the last 10 years. Keene has actually lost in population, but yet they're crying for housing.
Is Peterborough in
I
Cheshire?
don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Peterborough's
where you
not
get that.
Cheshire County.
No?
No. It's considered part of Monadnock region, but it's not.
Oh, that's it.
All right. Anything else?
So I'm hesitant here a little bit, but, so I listened to the select board meeting on Tuesday, and there was a presentation about, I guess, trying to get the town behind, Mark, you could probably speak to this better, but getting the town behind a $500,000 bond for low income housing, I believe it is how it was stated. And I'm wondering, in the case where the board has already approved a age-restricted housing unit, how something like this can impact that unit, that project that's already been approved. And I can be concerned about that because of the size of it, the location of it, and a number of other things. So I just thought maybe that would be a fair discussion to have here briefly. And I'm talking vaguely because I don't know all the facts. Mark, you were there.
I don't know the fact. Lori sent an email out today about it, but I haven't had a chance to read it.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the applicant needs a letter of support from the town in order to obtain this bond. I don't think any onus would be placed on the town. So I don't think the town would bear any responsibility. I think we would just be providing a support letter so they can obtain the bond.
That's usually what it is
that's
with
all
the
of
block
my
grants. It's
understanding.
generally how it works.
But I have an issue, a very basic issue on using taxpayer money to do a private enterprise. There's not it's got to be a benefit of the community, in my opinion, and I don't think that's a benefit of the community.
Well,
Because he's building a building that's for his profit.
We're talking still hypotheticals here, I think. We aren't talking about any specific building in town. To get to your
No, no,
question
yeah, we
right
are.
there,
Yeah, we are.
if it violates the approved site plan, then it has to come back to the board in any way. So we're talking about conditions here. I know what you're talking about a condition on a certain site plan there. And if it violates that condition, then it has to come back to the board if they want to change that.
And would something like that require a public hearing? Would it potentially reset the clock?
If they come back to the planning board, they'd probably come in to ask the board whether it would require a public hearing or not to modify the site plan, or the conditions to the site plan, in this case we're talking about. So it would be decided then, the board would decide then whether a public hearing was warranted or not, whether it was minor or however. I think they'd have to hold at least one meeting. They couldn't just say no right off the bat. We'd have to hold a meeting, and it most likely would be a public hearing.
This is a very theoretical question, okay, non-specific to anything. But when we approve a proposal, and when a proposal is granted site plan approval, that's a statement, I just want this confirmed, okay, this is my impression. It's a statement that that application has met the series of criteria that we have designated in our zoning bylaw, right, our site plan review regulations, right? It's not a statement of community good, per se. Isn't that true?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Because, yeah, right, you're right.
Okay.
Mark, is it anything in that email that you can share with us, or is it only within the board?
Within the board.
Yeah, they're the ones going to have to make the ultimate decision.
So, on a different note, Jane?
I don't know if I should say this or not, but last night's selectmen's meeting was most interesting, and you could watch it on YouTube.
And that's all you're gonna say about it? You're gonna keep us at the edge of our seats? Okay.
I
Then we'll
want you
just
to
have
go home and watch it.
We'll just have to tune in.
But you gotta watch it to the end.
And watch at the end, okay. We'll try and do that.
The CIPC has not done its final work yet. We're still waiting for the numbers for the town hall rehab that they're going to start once the fire station is out. There's two big items right now. The building for Public Works, that's, I think, around $900,000. And then there's the fire engine. Then they still
much is
have
that?
a fire engine, depending on what the way they go. If they go a regular engine, it's around $600,000-700,000. But if you go to the heavy rescue / engine, it's a little more expensive. So right now, we're looking around $750,000, I think, somewhere around that ballpark.
That's a lot of
I
money.
don't know if Mark remembers. Oh, no, you remember the numbers?
I thought it was approaching 800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the ladder truck has got to go down to Connecticut to get fixed.
It's already there.
Yeah, that's already been approved for the 10,000, yeah.
It's down in Connecticut.
Yeah, that came out of the CIPC funds, I believe.
The thing that astonishes me is what a used fire truck was worth, like 15,000.
Big money. Oh,
A
that's it.
used one? No, when we sell
Didn't
engine
they-
2, we're going to get 5,000 out of it.
Didn't they say that that pumper that was out there was, we get like 10, 15,000? It was some ridiculous number.
But the engine 2,
I'm not sure which one.
that's the one they're going to be
It was
replacing.
my first meeting on the board.
I
so-
think the chiefs gave it about 5,000 or 6,000 is all you can get out of one.
That'd make me feel better. So anyway, on that one note, that public hearing for that bond at the select board meeting is 12/17?
I can't remember if it was the 17th or the 10th. I thought it was the 10th.
That's
I
right,
thought it was the
17th.
10th.
I thought so, too.
that's true.
I think it's the 10th.
10th?
10th. I'm pretty sure it's the 10th.
Okay.
So everybody show up.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn,
Done with the
seconded
chit-chat.
by Brandon. Is there any further discussion? Yes, I have some discussion.
Whoops.
So, is everybody familiar with the railroad bridge up here in town on Christian Hill Bridge there? That's been supposed to be replaced for a long time. I think it was scheduled for last year. They postponed it again, maybe for this year or maybe next year. They want to put a cement bridge over across that. I think it's all been approved. I'm not sure what it was probably maybe 5 years ago, I think, that they did the engineering study on it. And it was like, I don't know,
Jeez.
200,000, something like that,
The ASS?
100,000,
It's a town road.
something like that. It's a Christian Hill Road, it goes.
Yeah.
The bridge belongs to
So
the
they
state.
is us.
Yep,
That's the state though for the bridge.
that's what, oh,
The state.
the state,
If I'm
yeah.
correct, Mike, right? They've already had some discussions, it's waiting on the state.
80% from the state and 20% from the town.
Right, but the state actually owns the bridge.
So, the state actually owns that bridge, it's a
Because
historic
it's
bridge,
across-
right?
It's across the
Yeah,
state.
historic
The
bridge.
the rail trails we have do not belong to the town of Swansea, they belong to the state.
Yeah, I know that, yeah. So
So
the
that-
bridge is owned by the state?
Right.
So they're deciding what to do with it or not?
They're gonna replace it.
Gonna replace
They
it, it's just waiting on it.
Do we still have to pay for it even though
No,
they?
my last meeting I went to, it said that it was gonna not cost us anything.
Right, that's what I
That
heard.
they were gonna pay for it, and they have to use something from the bridge, because it's historical, and I think they're gonna move some of it and put it on the rail trail somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh,
The gas down here is what I heard down in
So-
the Westport.
So the engineering report, right, said that the town share was gonna be like a couple $100,000. So this is, since that engineering report,
Since-
gotta be
When he was last here,
$200,146.
a goose egg for us.
Could they repurpose the timbers out of it and put it over the washout down there by the substation?
We're gonna move the old bridge down there.
You put with the gazebo,
But the-
they keep
the plan
moving
is-
around.
They were supposed to use the timbers as a facade. Yeah.
Do they even need to replace it? That's what I'm getting at. Do you have to
Right,
spend that
I'm
money
with
to
you.
replace that bridge? Because it's been closed for 10 years.
You can get around it either
2014,
way.
you've been going around that bridge up there for 10 years. It's a walking bridge now. Why can't it stay a walking bridge and not spend that money
Go
on
talk
fixing
to the
that bridge?
state.
Yeah. I don't know. Another thing, the governance committee. So we're doing a recommendation to the selectmen on the 10th as to what the committee is recommending for whether we go to traditional town meeting or SB2 or somewhere in between. I won't spoil it, but the committee is recommending town meeting, so.
But you won't spoil it.
We'll make it official on
You
the 10th.
just spoiled it.
We'll make it official on the 10th of the selectmen's meeting. The committee's going to be there and read the recommendation, and then there are some other suggestions too. So we're almost at the end to that. So
And there
that's
is another person that doesn't belong to this committee that is going to put a petition article in to go to town manager, town council.
Yeah, you were talking about that, right, yeah, so.
So
we'll
you
see.
want to take the power away from the people, period, because if we don't like a selectman, we can vote him out.
What people?
Right,
But your town manager say he's going to have a contract.
So
Yeah.
how would that work? So there would be a warrant article to get the voters to?
for what he's talking
No,
about?
for what you're talking about then?
Yeah, there would be a warrant article that would say something like, should the town go back to selectmen and open town meeting as opposed to SB2?
Okay. And we
in
vote
the-
this much, and then
it'd
the
be-
following year, whatever happens.
If it passed, it would go to that, yeah, and it'd be back to what it used to be, standard, regular town meeting, everything is voted on right after you discuss it.
But it would be up to the selectmen whether there's an article or not.
Exactly, yes. It's
Because
only
it's only
recommendation
recommendation
from our
from the
committee,
select board.
that's all.
Got it. So the selectmen would actually draft that warrant article?
They would have to,
And they would
yes.
recommend, make the
Yeah,
recommendation?
it's gonna be or not.
In my opinion, more importantly is the supplemental information, because that's looking at the real problem of getting voters more informed, so.
So, let's see,
And they're a lot of fun, too.
nothing else for discussion?
All in favor?
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, and we're